Hey, happy Halloween, everybody. It is that time of the month, time to run through my favorite albums from the month of October. These are always one of my favorite videos to do, just talk about a lot of excellent releases that came out this past month that I think you should go check out if you have not. This month I do have a really good mix in here. Got some traditional heavy metal, some power metal, some death metal, and of course a lot of black metal. That's to be expected. That is my favorite subgenre. If you've been watching this channel, you know that black metal tends to dominate my lists, but nonetheless I got a good mix of some other stuff in here as well. As usual, I don't limit this to a certain number of albums. I just go with however many came out this month that I've listened to that I felt like I wanted to talk about. So this month I have got 15 or 16 albums that I think you should go check out if you have not. So without further ado, let's just get right into this. I'll count them down from 16 down to number 1. Here we go. So just cracking my list is Queensryche with their new album Digital Noise Alliance. So, to be honest, Queensryche is a band that I haven't really kept up with their entire career. I do really like some of their early works, and then to be honest, I don't really bother with most of their other albums. They just don't interest me. I might have listened to them once or twice, but it just didn't do anything for me. But this one, I think is actually pretty decent. There's a lot of good moments in here, mixes just like some classic, almost power metal moments, some nice ballads, and then of course you got those progressive moments as well. The vocals really steal the show here. Todd Latour really brings a new level to them for this day and age. I really like his voice, and this album is pretty decent. Like, I don't think you're going to see this on my year-end list or anything like that, but I'm not hating on it. It's on this list for a reason. I think it's pretty decent, and I think you should go check it out if you have not, regardless of what you think of some of their later output. Up next at number 15, I'm going with Kalmankantaja. I had a little trouble pronouncing that there. Their new album, Waiennut. So this is some Finnish atmospheric black metal. This is a very busy project, releasing albums left and right. It's very hard to keep up with. I have not even heard everything by this band because it's pretty much impossible. I think they had another album come out earlier this year and one last year. Like, it's just relentless. I don't know how they have this much time. But all that being said, this is a pretty enjoyable album. You got some like keyboards and synths in there and just really got that typical Finnish black metal sound, which I love. So if you have not heard this album, definitely go check it out. I should have said at the beginning, I will pop all the names of these bands and albums down below because I'm sure I just mispronounced that band name and the album name. So if you want to go look it up, they will be listed down below in the description here. But yeah, anyways, that one's in at number 15. Up next at number 14, I'm going with Timor at Tremor with their new album, Realm of Ashes. So this is some German pagan black metal. This one's just a really engaging listen. Kind of goes some different directions. I haven't spent a ton of time with this album, so it could rise even higher, but I've listened to it only a couple times, and it made a pretty strong impression. I like what I hear. I definitely want to spend some more time with it. But yeah, just really solid stuff. If anything I just said sounds like it would interest you, definitely go give this album a spin because it's pretty enjoyable stuff. Sticking with black metal, up at number 13, I'm going with a band that I had never heard of before, and that is Bran with their album Odcházení. Probably mispronouncing that, so I apologize. These guys are from Czechia, and this is atmospheric black metal. It very much reminds me of Druid. Very much has that same kind of vibe with some of the riffing patterns and just the overall style and feel to the album. I'm sure that's a major influence for them. So if you're a fan of Druid, definitely go check this band and album out. Maybe it's not reinventing the wheel here and doing anything like too unique, but nonetheless, it's a pretty enjoyable black metal release in at number 13. All right, now let's switch it up completely to something different. In at number 12, I'm going with Avantasia and their new album, A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society. Long title for an album. Of course, a band that needs no introduction. Power metal legend, really, Tobias Sammet, his side project after Ed Guy, but really now it is his main focus and always brings in so many guest vocalists on every album to really create these grand epic metal operas. So I don't think this album is quite on the level as their best works, but there are a few absolutely standout songs here. I mean, when you're bringing in Michael Kiske and Jorn, and what's his name, Ralph Sheepers. Like, those songs are standouts, but some of the other ones maybe not up to par with the rest of the album. I think as a whole, it's still pretty decent. It's an enjoyable power metal album that goes some different directions, throws some different styles of songs at you. But that being said, I feel like they have put out better albums than this. So, I mean, I haven't done an Avantasia ranking. Maybe I will at some point. I don't think this one would be near the very top, but there are still a handful of really great songs here. So if you pick and choose, there's a good album in there. Nonetheless, as a whole, pretty enjoyable stuff. So go check it out if you're into power metal. Up next at number 11, going back with some more black metal with Witcher and their album Lélekharang. Might be mispronouncing that as well. This is some atmospheric black metal from Hungary. A good comparison would be a band like Summoning. Not that it sounds exactly like Summoning, but just that style of black metal. Very keyboard oriented, maybe some minimalistic riffs and some black metal rasping, but just creates this grand, epic atmosphere, and it's pretty well done. Another one where I don't think they're really reinventing the wheel here or putting their mark with something so unique. Like, it just kind of reminds me of other bands, but nonetheless, it's well executed. It's a very enjoyable album, especially just to kind of put in the background that it's that kind of black metal. You don't have to necessarily pay that much attention to it. It just kind of drift off and get lost in the atmosphere. So if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely go give this album a listen. Okay, now we are into the top 10, my 10 favorite albums from the month of October. So just cracking that list, I'm going with some more power metal, Dragonland, and their new album, The Power of the Nightstar. So this is some symphonic power metal from Sweden. A good comparison of a band would be something like Rhapsody of Fire. This is just full of really well-crafted power metal songs, very catchy choruses. They're going to stick in your head. So it's probably my favorite power metal album of the month. It's just, yeah, it's really catchy stuff. Pretty much exactly what you'd expect if you've heard this band before. It kind of follows in the same line as their previous album, but just, yeah, overall, very enjoyable stuff. That's why I just cracked my top 10 in at number 10. Up next at number 9, let's go with some death metal with Ripped to Shreds and their new album, Jubian. So some death metal from the USA. Just think like old school death metal, very much in with that Swedish death metal sound. Even though they're from the USA, you can tell they're influenced by bands like Entombed and Dismember. Very much an inspiration for these guys, I would think. It's just full of solid riffs, really enjoyable old school death metal. This is how I like my death metal for the most part, more in the old school variety. I think this album is pretty solid. I know it's getting a ton of praise. Maybe it might be a little bit too much praise in my opinion. I don't think it's necessarily like the best thing since sliced bread, but nonetheless, I don't want to shit on this either. It's a very good album. I like it a lot. It's in at number 9. Go check it out if you have not heard it. All right, up next at number 8, I'm going with Morbikon with their album of Mournful Twilight. So this is some blackened thrash metal with a little bit of melody in there as well. It's just a very fun listen. It's got very crisp production, maybe even a little bit too crisp, to be honest. For blackened thrash, I maybe like it a little bit dirtier. This is very clean sounding. This is just a solid album all the way through. Once again, maybe not super original, but that being said, it's just a fun listen. It's going to put a smile on your face. You're going to be banging your head, thrashing along to this. Really good stuff in at number 8. All right, up next at number 7, I'm going with Primordial Serpent and their new album, Kingdoms of Darkness and Despair. So this is a one-man black metal band from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, which is actually the city that I am from. So that's awesome to be able to give a shout out to a band from my hometown. But I will say, I am not just giving a shout out to this album because he's from my hometown. This is making it here on its own merits completely. Like, this album fucking rules. You look at that album cover and it's a perfect description of what's contained inside. Just very bleak black metal. Got some dungeon synth parts, but really great black metal riffs, more like the old school raw variety. And I absolutely love the vocals here too, and just the whole package, the way it's put together. Absolutely love this album. The fact that it's from Winnipeg, even fucking better. But yeah, gotta applaud this album. Really solid stuff in at number 7. Up next at number 6, let's switch gears completely with some traditional heavy metal with Konquest and their new album Time and Tyranny. So this is actually another one-man band, this time from Italy. I don't often see one-man traditional heavy metal bands, so that's pretty cool. I gotta say there's a huge heavy load inspiration here, at least that's what I hear to my ears with the riff styles and the way the choruses come in and just hit you with those hooks. I will say the vocals definitely leave something to be desired here. They're not the best, but it's not too much of a detractor. I mean, I'm obviously still putting this at number 6 because I enjoy the songs that much. With a better vocalist, this would be propelled even higher, but nonetheless, this is still very solid stuff. If you're into heavy load or just any traditional heavy metal, definitely go give this album a listen. I feel like it's pretty underrated. So yeah, go check out Konquest. All right, now into the top 5, my 5 favorite albums from the month of October. In at number 5, I'm going with Daeva and their album Through Sheer Will and Black Magick. This is some more blackened thrash, but compared to the Morbikon album, this one has production that I prefer, not as clean. This is a little more dirty sounding, very satanic themed, and it's just fun, satanic, blackened thrash metal. I absolutely love the vibe throughout this album. You can tell they're just paying tribute to the past of like the first wave of black metal, and they're having a good time doing it. It rips, the solos are good, like everything about this album, I fucking love it. Really solid stuff here. If you're into black and thrash, definitely go give this album a listen. Awesome, awesome stuff. Up next at number 4, the Legends Darkthrone with their new album Astral Fortress. So wow, this one, I shouldn't say it surprised me. I fucking love Darkthrone, but this one is just really continues the trend of the recent albums of super enjoyable stuff. Like ever since Arctic Thunder came out, all their like 4 albums since then have just really kind of built upon this foundation of kind of combining like classic heavy metal with old school doom and just different eras of Darkthrone as well to kind of culminate in this new sound that can only be described as Darkthrone. Like there's not really other bands that are putting out music like this. You've got a song like Caravan of Broken Ghosts that really has a Panzerfaust vibe. Like it sounds like it could have come right from that album. And then you've got other songs on here that have more doomy riffs that almost remind me of like Cirith Ungol. Not the vocals, but just riff-wise. Another great long epic on here, The Sea Beneath the Seas of the Sea. Possibly my favorite track on the album. And then when Fenris comes in and says that, it's just awesome. But like all in all, really solid stuff by one of my all-time favorite bands. Had to be on this list. The fact that I'm putting it this high up at number 4 is just because this album fucking kicks ass. Okay, 3 more. In at number 3, I'm going with Exhumed and their new album, To the Dead. So I did a full review of this album, so I won't necessarily go into as much detail here because you can go check out my review that I did. This is just old school death metal mixed with gore grind, you know, typical Exhumed style. Favorite tracks on here, Rankin, Defiled, Drained of Color, just awesome ripping death metal. The riffs and solos are amazing. I absolutely love the vocals. I mean, Exhumed is one of my all-time favorite death metal bands. They make this list almost by default, but this is honestly my favorite album by them in quite some time. So of course it's going to be high on this list. Okay, 2 more to go. In at second place, another album that I did a review of, and that is Stormruler with Sacred Rites and Black Magick. This is some epic melodic black metal from the USA, and just, wow, epic dialed up a notch here. Just a really long album that might be a detractor to some, but it's worthy of the playtime. Like, there are a lot of interludes, which maybe could be trimmed a little bit. That's like my one knock on this album, but the songs themselves really stand out. Awesome riffs, so much melody, and the vocals are aggressive. The drumming is relentless. Got tracks like Upon Frozen Shores, the title track Sacred Rites and Black Magick. All in all, very solid black metal release in at number 2. So that just leaves one, my favorite album of the month. So it's actually an easy choice. As much as I love so many of these, especially like my top 10 here, this one still blew them all away. Easily my favorite album of the month, and that is Riot City with their new album Electric Elite. This is some traditional metal mixed with speed metal. Really just got a throwback sound to the 80s heyday, the glory days of heavy metal. And wow, just absolutely amazing. The vocals are top notch, amazing catchy guitar riffs. choruses that are going to stick in your head. I absolutely love this. This is another one I did a full review of, so go check that out. That you can hear me kind of expand on everything I'm saying right now, but standout tracks like Eye of the Jaguar to kick off the album, Ghost of Reality, just all in all, front to back, absolutely ripping album. Probably going to see this one pretty high on my year-end list, just how it seems right now. We'll see where it actually ends up, but I think as of this moment, it's probably in my top 10. It's that fucking good. So go listen to Riot City if you have not. Anyways, these are just my thoughts and opinions as usual. Love to get your picks down below. Let me know which albums I missed. I can't listen to everything, so I'm sure there's some I missed. Let me know which ones of these you absolutely love. You know, let's get some conversations going. Always the best part is to get some recommendations from others. So anyways, until next month, Hammer Heart Metal Reviews, out.